Welcome back to the special feature From Kyoto to Copenhagen. Every year, 6 million hectares of rainforest is destroyed. That's the size of Scotland and Wales combined. Are there any economic incentives to put an end to this destruction?
Well, the rainforests really are both the victim of economic failure and also potentially the cause of economic failure in the future if we don't do something to stabilise climate change. All of the actors involved in deforestation, whether they be individuals or companies or countries, they have very clear incentives to cut the trees down in order to get the value from the timber or to change the land use either to a mine or to soya beans or to cattle ranching. There's clear financial and economic incentives there. And so correcting that failure, we believe, at the Prince's Rainforest project needs to be through a new economic mechanism that can give people different incentives and different options in terms of bringing forward development in what are largely quite poor countries.
Could you highlight some of the economic solutions that you're actually proposing in the Prince's programme?
Well, we've called for an emergency funding mechanism. We hope the Climate Change Summit in Copenhagen this year will lead to a long-term, durable international solution. But in the meantime, we think something needs to be deployed immediately, as soon as next year. People have done some estimates. A technical group working for many of the countries involved has estimated that 15 to 25 billion euros over that 2010 to 2015 5-year period would be sufficient to slow down deforestation very considerably by about a quarter, and then from there by about a half, and then moving from there after 2020 to really begin to slow deforestation and in some places reverse it. The more countries protect their forests, the more money they would get from an international fund to enable them to do the kinds of development that they need in terms of healthcare, education, more sustainable agriculture, building up new technology bases, but doing it in a way where the trees are kept standing, because the trees are seen to be worth more alive than dead. So it's about money, it's about some money, actually not a great deal of money in the greater scheme of things. You know, those kinds of sums now, when one looks at the response to the financial crisis, this is small change. And if you look at the benefits we get in terms of stabilising atmospheric carbon dioxide and slowing down climate change, it's almost the best deal, the biggest bargain in history in terms of the bangs you get for your buck.
What sort of response has your campaign garnered? Because it's been very interesting and it seems to have had wide popular appeal.
Well, we've been delighted by the level of support we've had from governments and from celebrities and from the public, and hopefully now we're in a position where these different levels of support can be reflected in a real practical solution. The signal will be sent to the world that there is a popular demand to stop deforestation, and more importantly, that there is a practical solution that could do it very quickly, because I think this is the thing that the world has lacked for the last 30 years when people have been expressing concern about this issue, is a large-scale global response that can really deal with the underlying causes of deforestation. And there are many, many really excellent projects going on, some being run by countries, some being run by conservation groups and development groups. We believe that this kind of response, working at the global level, will add value to all those wonderful things and actually bring deforestation under control.
It's rare to find a campaign that unites governments, business leaders, consumers and environmentalists. But the urgency of the rainforest issue seems to have struck a collective chord.
I think we're at a very interesting stage where consumers, companies and indeed governments are for the first time really taking this area seriously. We're going into the Copenhagen summit at the end of the year. There'll be hopefully some very tough climate change objectives put into place. But I do think that despite the recession, consumers are indicating, from all the research we see, that they continue to take this subject very seriously. No CEO, chairman of any company now rejects or denies the importance of these areas. And last but not least, I think governments are taking them seriously, again, in the context of a recession when deficit spending is at a very high level. And there are opportunities for all three communities to work together to secure climate change, environmental change, sustainable change that we all need.
By influencing our supply chain, we can really encourage responsible sourcing. We have a global beef policy where there will be no beef sourced from any recently deforested areas, i.e. areas that have been deforested in the last 2 years. I think when major businesses make that sort of commitment and set those sort of standards, that really can make a difference to these areas.
We've got to understand the nature of the problem. In my view, the nature of the problem is a market failure. The market is the most powerful force for change, other than nature itself. It is blind to the value of the environment. It has been for generations. The effect is that it's been an engine of destruction. We need to find ways of writing the value of the environment back into the market so that the market is literate environmentally. I mean, really what it comes down to is creating a situation using the market where forests are more valuable alive than dead.
After the break, we'll be joined by London's top business leaders and taking a look at the fashion glitterati backing the Prince's Rainforest project.
We must save the rainforest.